let's see, and then let's see if they can stop that. The music. Yeah, it's a little quick thing, knock down the music.
Oh, okay. Not that. Can't get down to nothing.
Yeah, but they did the music. They had the music down, and I recorded it, and it still came on, like even the music. So I was like,
Oh,
oh, this is
good. I'm all staring up.
and unmute. Okay, that's good. And, all right, it is going. All right. And welcome to a new episode of The Creative Brew, giving you insights on your creative journey. Testing. Okay. And welcome back to a new episode of The Creative Brew, giving you insights on your creative journey. Today, we have Monica Martin, a incredible artist. She's, and like I said, she'll probably describe a little bit more of what she's into. She's more of the, I would say, floral decor. So paintings, greeting cards, art classes. Like I said, I'll let her sort of share her story and the creative journey, ups and downs of it,
Yes.
and where she is today. But we are here live at Baba Coffee, and so take in mind there is people around, there's chatter. So, but I do want to give a quick shout out to Baba Coffee here in Carlsbad, California, smuggling good vibes and good coffee. So, and an incredible sponsor for the show. So without further ado, Monica, share your story, and we'll get it going.
Story. Well, let's see. I raised my kids for the first 20 years of marriage.
Okay.
And basically, upon getting a divorce, I actually started my art career. So I had like a second career for myself.
Yeah.
So most people don't know that. I didn't start really an art career until 2012. And I just started with, I was teaching at a scrapbook store, and then it became mixed media art. And then it became regular art. And so it kind of just evolved over years.
Yeah.
To what it is now, which is way different than what it started as.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know if I could make a career of it. But I didn't have a job necessarily to go back to.
Yeah.
So I, decided, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all the way.
Yeah.
And I got lucky in that I got hooked up with an art agent within the first 2 years. So what that is someone that represents you with art in a customer type. So you're going to use art for products.
Yeah.
So you're going to be licensed. So she had a few needs. She asked me if there's anything I had that could fit that need. And I actually kind of took off with that right from the start.
Wow.
So I was really doing art for products.
Yeah.
So for notebooks, for calendars, for all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
That's kind of how I got the kickoff.
Yeah.
I'd say 2012, 2013 were my biggest licensing years. So I did a lot of what people would call more mainstream art, not digital at the time.
Yeah.
Digital really wasn't that big yet. It was more still hand done, or if it was digital, they wanted hand done because they were not wanting digital.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of contracts because of that, which was kind of hand drawing. They wanted to see more real art still.
Yeah.
So having been an artist, on the side, I guess, or as a kid, always drawing, always painting, even with my kids. I mean, I did murals in their rooms and things like that. So it's always doing art, but it was never as a business.
Yeah.
So it was hard for people because they were like, what do you mean it's a business? People who do art just do art, and they either do or they don't, and I would always say, well, it's kind of become a business for me.
Yeah.
And so, I've had a couple national calendars that have gone, into bookstores and into Hobby Lobby and different companies that carry calendars every year. So there's one that I did that ended up being like a 3-year contract. Which
Oh,
was
that's
great.
awesome. Yeah.
So after all of that, I still actually have a few contracts that they still use my work. But as far as moving forward from that, and let's see, within I would say 5 years or so. Well, over the years, I've worked at different studios.
Mhm.
So that's kind of been, I had my own studio at one point
Yeah.
down in San Diego. I've had a studio in Liberty Station.
Okay.
And I had a studio, like kind of 1 year at a time. It's kind of weird. One closed. Well, one closed, then I went to another one and that one closed. Like it was just kind of like a evolving.
Yeah.
And then I ended up at Art Beat in Vista.
Okay.
Which was a great spot for a few years. And then they closed. Then I moved to New Village Arts, which was the Foundry, which is right down the street here. And I was there the longest.
Okay.
I was there like 3 years. And so that was a great experience working with a co-op. So, you know, you're getting experience with all the other artists. Very, just tons of learning.
Yeah.
Learning from, you know, lifelong artists. I'm self-taught. So to be with someone who's, you know, come in with all this training, I mean, I got so much knowledge out of them as far as like framing, you know, display, gallery, hanging, all of that.
Yeah.
It's so great because I got to be around people who are like lifelong artists, which
Yeah.
is a lot different.
Yeah.
So I kind of backed off on my art licensing because at the time it was going really digital.
Mhm.
Everybody was doing digital work by like 2016.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was, we don't want that, we want this, which is fine, you know, it's just a different style.
Yeah.
And I did dabble in, I still do some digital stuff, but not nearly as much. So in 2015, when I was down at Liberty Stations, when I kind of released my first cards,
Mhm.
and I had like a set of 30 to 40 that I would sell at different stores in the area. And then that just kind of evolved over the years. That's grown and grown.
Okay.
So right now I'm up to about, I think I'm at about 250 designs. They're not all, you know,
Yeah.
reproduced at this time, but I learned how to reproduce those. I learned how to, you know, work wholesale with companies. I actually had reps showing those for a while around the country. So I've kind of done like a bunch of different things. I've kind of just like, as soon as something is not working anymore, I just pivot to do something else.
Yeah.
So I think as an artist, it's super important that you just always evolve,
Yes.
you know, not even your art necessarily as much as the process.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I mean, I've been through where they didn't want digital, that they didn't want digital,
Yeah.
you know, eventually I'll probably go back to.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the way it is in the world of, you know, art and design and
Yeah.
all that. So in the last, like, let's say 8 years or so, I've gotten into, doing call for artists
Okay.
with galleries. So I've worked with Art on 30th down in San Diego. I've worked with up here, we'd have a gallery show up at the Foundry and as well as Art Beat. We always had like a monthly gallery show. So I always was producing something for the call for artists. Which
Yeah.
It's kind of a challenge. It's fun because sometimes you're like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, something green or something, you know, that includes some object that you've never painted before. So it kind of pushes you out of your boundaries. I would suggest that people try, you know, submitting for call for artists.
Okay.
Because it challenges you
Yeah.
completely, gets you out of your box. It might be, you know, a lot of times it'll be a color theme. Like I did one that was, the theme was orange is the new black.
Okay.
And it was based on like confinement.
Yeah.
And like in jail, basically. And it was a national show. And I got into it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, my painting was orange or black. It had what do you call it? On the top of the fence. What is that called?
Oh, like barbed wire?
Yeah, barbed
Okay.
wire. Didn't have real barbed wire, but it had like, you know, painted. Yeah, and so, yeah, and it was, you know, it was all about that theme, which
Yeah.
was, you know, like I made a wall and, you know, things that, I mean, normally I paint flowers.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was so far from and black and orange.
Yeah.
You know, so the theme was, you know, laid out for you and then you kind of, it's a challenge. It's just a personal challenge.
Yeah.
So, and even if you don't get in, you still learn a lot from that experience.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And submitting, that's that's a whole process, learning how to submit,
Mhm.
learning how to, follow the rules for that, hanging the art. It's all a process. So,
No, I'm really interested. And we may talk about a little bit about this later. As far as, because I know even with my work, I'm actually pushing a lot of my design stuff more towards licensing. And I know this probably be a really important episode for a lot of artists. But how are you able? Now, I think that was really the trick. Like, how did would you? I didn't know if you call it luck or just like, did you have the contact to be able to get that?
well,
This art agents?
I had taken a course
Yeah.
with like probably like 40 other women, and it was kind of a launching your art kind of a class. It wasn't really directed to specifically art licensing. It was more just how to kind of get your art out in the world.
Yeah.
It was a lot of a what you call like a self-improvement or self-reflection.
Yeah.
It was a lot about like, what are the things that are holding you back from that?
Yeah.
What are the things from, so it was something flyers. I can't remember the exact name, but basically I still am in touch with all those, like, so now we call ourselves Flying Sisters because we're all flying, we're all doing art in different parts of the country. I know people in France, I know people in Italy that are doing art from our group.
Yeah.
Some people have gone in a different direction, but everybody's doing some sort of, art. So, as far as licensing, someone in that group introduced me to my agent. Actually showed my work, but you could do it on your own.
Yeah.
It's just a little harder.
Yeah.
She already had people that were saying, we need, like, I remember there was this one thing where she wanted stuff with cats.
Yeah.
And I don't think, not that I couldn't, but I just wasn't into it. And she's like, well, Monica, they really like cats. And I'm like, I want to do cats, and so, I just waited it out and didn't do cats and, but she found someone that did do cats and, whatever that was for, it's probably for cards or something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it would go. She'd call me and she'd say, are you in? Are you out? Sometimes she'd leave me a message.
Yeah.
She was on the East Coast. So she had been an artist, a licensed artist herself.
Yeah.
So she had a lot of contacts previously. And so she was kind of just directing artists to, not a big agency, just out of her home. It was very, just like, she became a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Over the years. So that was kind of a neat, I don't know, meant to be kind of thing. I don't know if that's a God thing or whatever thing.
Yeah.
So
I always wanted, because I know that's been the biggest, probably, I wouldn't say one of the biggest hurdles, but obviously, like, being able to find a company or agent that would actually represent you or be that middleman. So I think that could always be the sometimes the biggest hurdle. I think a lot of people have artwork, but and I know and it's really a mindset shift too, like knowing that, hey, you don't have to sell a one-off piece of artwork. You can figure out ways of leverage.
There's some of my work's been used hundreds and hundreds of times, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Once you license it, you typically don't license it with anyone else.
Yeah.
You can sell the original. I would always make sure I could sell the original. But sometimes it was a bigger piece that I just, maybe it was a part of a painting. Or it was something that I was going to use as a card or something. I would just make it so that I could, because you can negotiate all those things.
Oh yeah.
And you negotiate your percentage and your years and all that. It's not, the thing is, everyone's like, you're not going to get rich unless you hit the right, like I had a friend that hit one of her designs, went into a hotel chain, and that ended up being a huge thing for her. So things like that, it does happen. The biggest, and it wasn't even really for the licensing thing that I did, was I did a yogurt label. That was kind of fun. And it was fun to have friends calling me saying they saw it in the store, and that was like a seasonal thing. So it was just like, I think it was about 3 months. But everyone was sending me the photos of it, on the store shelf. That was pretty cool.
That's always the biggest. That's always the coolest thing going there. Like, actually,
it's like their kids holding it up and stuff. It was cute. That was super fun surprise. And it wasn't really easy to find here. So it was cool to see it in different different states. So it wasn't a big seller here, or not all stores carried it at the time. So I think it was a few stores that did.
So I
But-
mean, so with the greeting cards,
Mhm.
which she has some here at Baba.
Yeah, I do.
You know,
They've been great. Yeah.
with these cards, I mean, do you find yourself, is that like a niche or even, well, I would say, is that like a sort of a lane that you feel like, hey, I just want to stay in, like I just want to do greeting cards, or you feel yourself doing some other things?
Well, I mean, I still do the gallery shows. Like
Okay.
I'm at Oceanside Theater Company right now. In their show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got 2 pieces in that show, so that's cool.
Nice.
But I haven't done a gallery show in a while. I did my own gallery show in July this time.
Okay.
Where I did 8 pieces that were all themed.
Yeah.
So that was kind of usually, so Witch Creek Winery is the company that, the business that decided to let the Foundry artists who had left the Foundry when it got renovated and remodeled. The owners decided we're gonna let each artist have a month every year. So I've done it 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So it's funny. One year I did May, then last year I did June, and this year I did July. I'm not sure why I moved down the calendar, but I know one year I had an art event and like I had to go pull art from there, and it was very chaotic.
Yeah.
So you have to plan it, and I picked the month like a year ahead, so you don't know what's going to be happening.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just scheduling and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So this year I'm like, I'm going to pick a month that there's nothing else going on, which is July.
Yeah.
Which was a good month for me because there's a lot of people in town.
Yeah.
So that worked out pretty good.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. So I mean, with your work, do you have,
Reading cards, I'm sorry.
yeah, just going back, because you know, with your artwork, do you have like, so say if you do a gallery, do you have specific pieces that you say, hey, like I want to put this in a gallery, or you know, do you have specific designs or creations you want to, you know, maybe like an agent, or maybe you got like some kind of licensing thing going on or anything like that? Do you have, I didn't know if you have separate collections for any of those.
Collection is definitely different from
Okay.
the rest of the collection
All right.
because typically my cards are watercolor.
Yeah.
And my larger pieces are acrylic.
Okay.
So I don't really mix those two.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of like watercolor, smaller images.
Okay.
And then, which can be enlarged, of
Yeah.
course, but, the acrylic is really completely gallery focused. So, that's kind of how I differentiate them.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have once in a while, someone will say, can you make that a card? And of course, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
So one thing that I do that I suggest people do is take scanned or images of all their. That's like, it takes time. And I mean, there's times I'll have 12 or 15 things that I need to photograph. Not only photograph, but edit, you know, as far as cropping. I usually try not to edit the actual image very much.
Okay.
In terms of like coloring, or I
Yeah.
like to just, you know, what I get is I like to try to use the original piece,
Okay.
I guess you'd say. Without enhancing it, or, you know, if it's too dark, I'll wait to do it at a different time of day. You know, if I'm concerned about the lighting in it or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll print one and I'm like, no, this is too dark. So I have to either lighten it up or retake it. Usually it's a reshoot.
Okay.
So, you know, the process just doesn't look as good, or whatever. Sometimes colors just don't come out right, or. So like for me with the cards, I pretty much try to like, I'll do 5 or 10 at a time, and then I take them and then I crop them to fit my template for my cards. And then I send them to the company and then they print them and send them.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a process. Like,
Yeah.
it's easy now, but in
Yeah.
the beginning, oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'd send it in, they go, oh, it's a little too short, or, you know, I would get the card back and go, oh, it's off, or
Yeah.
it has, you know, a little white line, or, you know, like not in the print, but, you know, I didn't cut it quite right,
Yeah.
or it kind of wore off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, that'd be a little tough, especially for, I mean, even with someone that's self-taught like yourself, and then having to learn all these processes,
Yeah.
print production processes. And I'm coming from reverse, so I'm coming from the design and production. So like, I was like, it's easy for me to create
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, obviously, you got the leg up with getting the contacts and the people
Yeah.
to be able to get your artwork seen
Yeah.
at various places. But that's for me, it's a little bit easier coming through. Like I could sit there and talk to a vendor, like, okay, yeah, I know what they're talking about.
Yeah, what they're
But for
gonna-
like a fine artist or someone that's, you know, maybe
Yeah.
not in digital, it could be really hard for them to be like, okay, how do I do this? Do you, I mean, it may be for you, and maybe through your experience, is that something to where you've just learn through time, like how to get things set up, or did you? I didn't know if there were certain resources maybe
No,
saw
no,
online
like
or
trial and error.
yeah,
Pretty
okay.
much. I
Okay.
mean, I pretty much, started with one company, and at one point I had a printer that did most of it. Like I would bring
Yeah.
them the image, they would scan it
Yeah.
and edit it for me. Then it got too costly.
Oh,
So
yeah,
then I'm like, I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, what am I doing? I have no idea. I'm just gonna wing it. So, I started playing around with different, templates and just trying my best to figure it out. And
Okay.
like I said, I've had, some errors along the way, but it's never, I mean, my cards, I can order the smallest batch. I can order one. So if I want to just test it,
Yeah.
I don't have to order them hundreds at a time.
Yeah.
So, I pay a little more than maybe if you went and did like 100 at a time or 500 at a time, but I never know what's going to be popular.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's the trick. It's all the trick.
At 5, 10, or 25, I just know,
Yeah.
either I'm gonna have them a while or, like here, it's funny, the cards that always sell here, it's just funny how you get used to like what sells, when I bring in new ones and they'll sit, and so then I'm like, okay, not those again, so it's a constant like process of, what's popular, what's not, what's,
Yeah.
like, Father's Day is not that popular, but Mother's Day.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Like,
Yeah.
Like,
No one wants
it's typical of the card industry. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's just me,
Yeah.
but it's just like, I've done a lot of cards over the years.
Yeah.
So I just, like I said, some I sell over and over and over and over. Those are just like a classic.
Yeah.
So, but it's taken like time just to figure out who I work with best. And I haven't changed my person that I use or the company that I use for probably 7 years now,
Oh.
7 or 8 years,
Yeah.
just because of the fact that I've got it down.
Yeah.
So if they change the template, I'm gonna panic because I have my editing software
Mhm.
programmed to, this is the template for a 5x7 card.
Oh, okay.
So I just pop it in, and sometimes, sometimes I have to shrink it or, play around with it a little bit, pull it back in or out, and that's pretty much it.
So do you, so even with I mean, obviously I know a lot of your designs is hand drawn.
Right. Mhm.
Do you have to do like minor editing and like say if you pull in a Photoshop or Illustrator? I didn't know if you do any
I
kind of.
actually use either of those.
Okay,
I
all
use Procreate,
Okay,
and
yeah, that's it.
because I'm not trained in Photoshop or
Yeah.
Adobe, and I just never really, I wasn't really like keen on the digital stuff.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I learned Procreate, and I was like, I think I can do it all in here. So what I do that's different is I actually write on my cards, like the message, happy birthday or whatever it is hand done by me, but it's done on Procreate.
Yeah.
So it's not done hand lettered on the actual card.
Oh, yeah.
image.
Okay.
So, a card, I can print it plain with just flowers and, or, a beach scene or whatever, or I can print it with words.
Okay.
So it gives me the option. I always say both, so that I, sometimes someone will say, oh, I want to have that, but I just want it for like a note card.
Yeah.
So once in a while, someone will ask me for it, and I'm like, oh, I have it,
Okay.
count the words. And then it's like, oh, they might want a whole stack.
Yeah.
Because they're going to use it for, maybe even business or something.
Okay.
So
trend wise, I mean, what things are you maybe for this year? What have you noticed trend wise?
Here, see, I'm mostly basing it off of here and another store I have. It's all beach related. I mean,
Oh,
anything beach or surf or surfer or ocean, is definitely, especially like with the theme. Like I've had some cards in Oceanside for a while with the harbor.
Mhm.
Anything, the pier, things that are obvious, tourist points, tourist interest.
Yeah.
I kind of lean into that, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I know it's gonna sell.
Yeah.
Not and then there's a few designs that I repeat over and over that have sold. I'd love, actually I could go through at some point and figure out how many of these have I sold. So just out of interest, it'd be interesting to see over 5 years.
Yeah.
I get bored with them. And then I'll run into someone, they'll say, that's not it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting rid of it again.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of flowers because most of my cards are bought by women.
Mhm.
So typically, my age demographic is pretty much 50, 55 and up.
Okay.
And I think that's the card buyer still.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
trying to figure that out.
yeah. I know my mother-in-law. She still sends
Yeah.
us cards.
Yes.
I mean, she
Yeah.
does it regularly. I mean, it's
Yeah. So my mom, like, my aunts and stuff.
Yeah.
Most of my friends still send cards or
Yeah.
get cards or, are used to thinking of a card, or even if they're giving a gift card inside or
Yeah.
whatever. So now with the text and message and all that, nobody really, there's a lot of people who don't really care.
Yeah.
I've got my kids using, my daughters both send cards, but that's only because I'm like, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Send this to your grandmother.
Yeah, yeah, so that's what I was like. I want to keep it because the intention behind it. Someone picked up a card, wrote down a message. So like I love keeping them, but then like, man, I can't keep all of these.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I do enjoy that. That random text like, hey, happy birthday or happy anniversary. So that's always cool too. But
it is. So I've kind of just realized that, it's obviously not what it was at one point.
Yeah.
And that's not just my card, that's everybody's card.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it because I know it's like a little piece of art that somebody gets, and for me, that's kind of the joy of it.
Yeah.
Like it sounds silly, but I'm a big card sender. So for me, it's like part of what I do, it's like to get a card in the mail.
Yep.
People go, oh God, it's so exciting to get something other than a bill or
Yeah.
something that you see peek out that's like colorful or different. So that's kind of fun. But
that's cool. That's
yeah,
cool.
so it's kind of like my little pet project, like it's kind of my baby because it's like something that and anytime I want to do art, it kind of gives me an opportunity to just draw randomly. So, and have it feel like it's going to produce something. It's not that you can't draw, but I feel like whenever I draw something that I really, it ends up becoming a card.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But,
yeah, I think that's the way I'm always sort of creating different designs and character designs and it's just one I was like I end up like transforming it into something like I'm going to use this for something. Don't know what, but I'm going to use it for something.
It could be a bag, it could be a tote, it could be a notebook, it could be a card, it could be like you really can make anything out of some of those.
Oh yeah, yeah,
that poster.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I've kind of jumped. Like I remember when I first went to like Artbeat and the Foundry as well. They were older artists and they all didn't have that digital site at all. So they're all like, how are you doing that? But that's like a print or copy, of your work. That's not the original, but the thing is prints and copies sell better than originals do nowadays. So why not take the $25 per print off of something that, you're going to see more out of it than you would if it's just sitting in the garage at home. So you kind of have to get out of that mentality of just like it's an original. That's the thing that I kind of never had, and maybe because I went straight into art licensing, I never really like. There's not a piece in my collection that like there's maybe one or two I wouldn't part with. That's about it. I guess I don't get too attached. But I like this. There's a few I have some cool stories with, or reasoning of why I ended up with it, but it's not necessarily why I ended up doing it.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily like anything that would mean anything to anyone else. It's more of a personal like.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I know I've got originals for a lot of my stuff. It's sort of weird because because I transferred from more of the fine arts towards digital. So used to I would do a lot of stuff on paper, and then I switched completely just digital. And so I guess technically I still have like the original, but it's on my iPad. So a lot of those files. It's sort of weird because it's like I definitely don't want them to disappear or get corrupted. But so that's I think sometimes though like okay I do enjoy the it's a drawing or something on paper. I know it's physical, it's there, but I do enjoy it. I mean, from a design standpoint, like I'm sort of built off of like how efficient and being production wise, like knowing that hey, it's right there, right on my computer. I can just switch it over if I need to, use this for design. I can move elements around. I'm trained in Photoshop and Illustrator, so it's easy for me to like okay, I can. If I want to make something, I can make anything I want to.
Because I mean, I do play around on iPad and stuff and digitals, do my own drawings and stuff. And sometimes I'll post things,
Yeah.
but it's not the same to me
Yeah.
because it's just, I haven't really learned it. I guess if I really learned how to use watercolor brushes and all that stuff, I'd
Yeah.
probably be better at it. But I enjoy the texture,
Yep.
the holding, the brushes, I enjoy the physical part of it,
Yeah, it's different.
So,
it's a different feeling.
it's like, I feel like it's cheating still, which is so silly
Yeah.
because it's not, but it just feels wrong.
It is sort of cheating. I mean, it's like whenever I know when I mess up on an illustration or something like that, it's like Command Z. I can undo it. It never existed. Yep,
Yeah.
never existed. Just
Never
erase the whole thing.
No, that's true. And yeah, I mean, that's a cool thing,
Yeah.
but at the same time, for me, it's like, I don't get the same, I mean, for me, art is as much about the product as it is about my personal journey with it.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, to be in that zone, that Zen space that you get when you're an artist is like irreplaceable.
Oh yeah.
In fact, one time I read something that said, if your artist is painting or working, it takes 22 minutes. And I don't know if this is correct or not, to get back into that space.
I
So
can believe
you
that.
go completely out, mom, they come up and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's like, wait, and people say like, when they watch me paint or, people in my house that watch me paint, they'll say, you're so serious.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm so serious, it's just I'm in that zone.
Yeah.
And are you mad? I'm like, no, just that's my serious face.
Yep.
So it's funny how, that to me is the prize.
Yeah.
Or is the reward.
Yeah.
So it's funny because it's just, for me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, I guess for people outside looking in and, you're not an artist or not a creator and you hadn't been in that space to where like, you're just zoned in and you create something. It's a different feeling.
Do you get that with your digital work? See,
yes,
that's why
I do.
I don't feel like I do because I get so technical about like, oh, gotta do this. and
Oh,
gotta do
yeah.
that I have a hard time like connecting in that way.
Yeah.
Maybe because I don't do it enough.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Once, because I know it was a little hard for me at first when I went digital, because I had to switch the whole way I was even like holding a pencil because I've got if I'm drawing on paper, I've got a stronger grip. So I had to like switch completely how I was even drawing on a digital tablet. I would have broken the
Yes.
so yeah, I have to do like little adjustments with that, knowing I can do adjustments on the actual iPad.
Right.
With the pressure. Yeah.
Darker pressure.
So it took a good bit for me to actually get all my adjustments and everything down.
Yeah.
And so once I did that, then that was fine. But yeah, once I go from the beginning of a sketch, I'll just start, sketching out just objects and shapes.
Right.
And going to the complete thing. Yeah, usually if I'm just locked in, I'll zone out and just do it. A lot of times, and even from there, I can create like little process videos so I can sort of see the process from like the beginning to the end. See, and all the lines that I did and all the changes and reiterations.
That's the best part of digital because you can see the process, and your own process, but you're not seeing, that's the one thing that I was really into for a while, was trying to record myself, trying to capture those, images. And it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of pressure to capture like the process.
Yeah.
The process is hard. When you're in the process is that.
Yeah.
It's just, you're in the zone. You can't be like, hang on a minute, let me video, let me record, let me, I have a camera, set up and light and all that, but I rarely use it because it's hard for me to like be in the process and then like kind of forget.
Yeah.
Either I have to record the whole thing and then, take a couple clips out of it so that I can kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna do a minute and just show, what I'm working on like real tight, right in front of me. And then just move through it.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, I'm done with that. So it's not the easiest.
Oh,
I don't think so. I mean, I think there's people who are really good at it, and I just decided I'm not that person,
Yeah.
unless I'm going to record, like you said, the whole process.
Yeah. Yep.
beginning to end.
Yeah, so that just allows me to really just keep going. And if I mess up, I mess up. It's reported,
Yeah,
and you just keep going. And then when you look at the beginning to the end, then you know you see all the little mistakes, but you see what came of it too. So
Yeah.
that's and I actually I enjoy the process more than any design or creation I may make. I like the process of it. I like hey figuring out like what am I even gonna draw. Like my wife, she was like, I'll be sketching and my wife was like, well, what are you drawing? I was like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I was like, we'll see this we'll see where this goes.
It's not.
Yeah.
So the majority of my work is not one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really don't ever come into it, unless I'm thinking, okay, I want to do a dream boards,
Yeah.
something where I'm like specific. But even that, I try not to like prepare myself for that.
Yeah.
I'd rather just sit down. My desk is always available and I always have supplies on it.
Yeah.
So it's a designated area in my home. So, I mean, a lot of times I'll be watching something on TV where I'm not even really watching it.
Yeah.
I'm just listening or it's on in the background. Music is on in the background,
Yeah.
but I'm doing my own thing. So it's just kind of like, it's more evolved over the years, before when I had kids home, it was different. It's just over the years, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Now it's more of a designated, space.
Yeah.
Before it was the kitchen table. So I'd have to clean it
yeah.
off.
Hey,
And,
I understand that.
when I had a studio was the best, honestly,
Yeah.
because I could just go while my kids were at school. I worked the whole time while they were there.
Yeah.
That was probably my most productive years because to be in a space where, you're surrounded by artists and also even if it was quiet and there wasn't anybody there, that was great too.
Yeah.
So I kind of made it more scheduled,
Yeah.
like a job.
Yeah.
Okay, I start at 8:30 and I end at 3:30 or whatever.
Yeah.
And gave me a more structured. So I'm still kind of do that like on my days off
Mhm.
on my other job. So it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find myself, having to really trying to find myself balancing certain things. So I got the main design business, but then there's a lot of things as far as like just sitting down to just be able to sketch or create
Mhm,
something.
mhm.
I find myself,
To make the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what even with the coffee cups that I do, like
Mhm.
that's forcing me to sit down and just draw something, go through that process. And it's tactile too. I love like being able to, look around it, see what mistakes I did,
Mhm.
and just really just experiment with some things.
Right.
Even like paint with coffee and things like that.
Right.
That's been like a 2 year
Yeah.
process, but
Uh-huh.
I enjoy it. Like I love like seeing like how it mixes with the color and knowing that I can get certain I can get certain boldness of the coffees depending like if it's like a light roast or a dark roast. I get like different tones depending. So like experimenting with all of those. So I enjoy that. That's just something I can't do that on the computer.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like you have to still have that tactile
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
And when I was doing mixed media, I would tea stain my book pages.
Okay.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
You get like every time, you can never repeat it.
Yeah.
You try to make the exact same mix and it's like, it's a little darker, a little lighter, whatever brand it was. There's so many different things that
Yeah.
factored into that. But still very fun, to try. It's all to me, I mean, and people will say like I've done murals, I do window painting, I've done that. Like I'm pretty much like I'll try anything if
Yeah.
it's something that I'm, could possibly learn from.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of have learned over the years, like that's not really my favorite, but I will do it. Or I love it and I'll do that again. I would do that again. So
Cool.
yeah, it's just a process, like you said, just a constant. I think that it's a little different in that my life is kind of built around it versus it like when I was younger in it or earlier in it.
Yeah.
It was kind of an addition to my life. Now it's kind of my life.
Yeah.
Like it's become my creative life. My phone is filled with constant pictures of just stuff, whether it's lettering that I like or it's a color I like or color combo I like, or I'm constantly taking photos
Yeah.
and I might not use it for 2 years. And I have a little folder. That's one thing I'm super organized with.
Okay.
I'm proud of myself because it's work. It's like I have my art inspiration folders and I don't divide them down, but I just know that anything that I've taken a photo of that's for inspiration, I put in there. But in terms of keeping track of all my art, any piece of art that I have in my collections or over the years is in Dropbox, is an image in Dropbox.
Yeah.
So I make sure that some, even if it's just the raw, with my desk behind it, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like an overall aerial picture that I just snapped.
Yeah.
That's got, you know, it hasn't been cropped or edited. I just put it in there. So trying to make a habit of that, but you know, about sometimes I'll go months where I haven't sorted them and I have them by year,
Yeah.
which is, you know, I don't have them divided more than that, unless it's an event, like, for instance, like a gallery show, they're all in a folder.
Yeah.
A certain, like I did one year, I did a gallery show with all black and white.
Mhm.
So they're all in their own folder.
Okay.
You know, so I know 2020 or 2019, go to that folder
Yeah.
and that's black and white, you know, all black and white paintings or, you know, whatever the theme is.
Mhm.
So, it's a lot of work though. It's like a constant,
Oh yeah.
you know, sometimes, like I said, sometimes I'll go months and then I'm like, oh, I gotta sit here and do this. So
I
I
can't even
try to just chip away at it.
I can't even count the number of folders I have in my Dropbox right now.
Yeah.
It's been 10, like maybe 10 years. Like,
Yeah, you're about
Yeah.
the same as me. Like,
Yeah,
I'm in my 12th year.
yeah, I'm like,
So,
wow. I was like, I just got to, I'll go back and like look through some of my photos. I'm like, I'm not even using it for anything, but I was like, wow, I was like, I might, you know, I might have to revisit some of these
yeah,
designs. but,
yeah. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll pull them out
Yeah.
into my iPad so that they're just kind of sitting there, like reminding me that they're there, you know, like, and it might have been from 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe it was a color combo that I liked.
Mhm.
That I'm like, oh, I gotta still try that. I've constantly got things like that that are just kind of there, but
Yeah.
not, you know, not yet.
Yeah.
Incubation. And it might be something that I'm just using like the smallest piece of that, or not even piece, it's just, you know, something in my head. It kind of, the photo kind of reminds me, oh yeah, I wanted to try that, you know, might not even be like something that you would look at and go, that's not inspirational to anyone else.
Yeah.
But it's something that I saw that reminded me of something I want to do.
That's true.
So
That's
like
true.
when I did the black and white, like, you know, a lot of the things I had photographed were, or had looked at or had seen or inspired by were color.
Yeah.
But I made everything black and white. And I painted with ink, which was really fun. Instead of, because it's such a deep, you know, color and
Yeah.
it's, it moves differently and, you know, so just trying things like that.
Good deal. So right now, I mean, creative tips, you know, what's a creative tip or tips for our audience?
I would say consistency, like what we're
Mm.
talking about with drawing, staying, making it a priority. Like maybe if you really want to make this a career or you know, even a side job or whatever, making it a priority in your life. Getting the people in your life to understand that
Cool.
that is the tough one.
Yeah.
You know, you're not playing, it's not funny, you know, it's not, you're not scribbling, you know, like you got to kind of make, I think when you're serious about it, then they get serious about it. But you know,
Yeah.
it's definitely a process for my family. They had to really understand, like, oh, and for me, it was almost like until other people started noticing.
Yeah.
Then they were like, oh, moms, and they're real artists, you know. What? For 10 years. So it's funny, you know, like you got to get the outside influence from, you know, and then they're like, oh, wow, you know. Now it's different, but like, you know, early on, it was really a struggle.
Yeah.
You know, at times, like if I had a deadline or something, I mean, it would be like, you know, you're eating over here, kids, because the table's covered in Harper, you know, waiting for my next contract. Or, you know, when I was
Yeah.
on that kind of a schedule, it was different
Yeah.
because they want it now.
Yeah.
Or they want it yesterday, you know.
Yeah.
So you're working a little bit on a time crunch more. But as far as creative tips, I would say the biggest thing would be just to really make, you know, if you want it to be a priority in your life and not whether that's an hour a week or an hour a day or whatever you can, you know, bring a sketchbook with you. I almost always have a sketchbook with me.
Yeah.
A pencil. Sometimes I'll see something and just come home and go, okay, I'm gonna just jot it down really fast and just do like an outline of it. I do a lot of drawing, a lot of just pencil drawing, just basic, you know, basic pencil drawings, which is just old school.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, I guess if I had an iPad, I could carry that around too. I do have one, but in terms of like, to me, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's different. It's different.
Things like that, like watercolors, watercolor pencils or something that are really easy to keep around, for creative. I showed those to my class recently, that we do watercolors, and I showed them using the pencils, which is very different, but it looks, very similar process.
Yeah.
But they were like, well, these existed. And it's like, you color in the little spaces and then add water.
Yeah.
So it gives you a little more control too,
Yeah.
because you're not using, liquid. You're kind of just using the liquid after.
Yeah.
So, but creative tip wise, yeah, I would say just trying to make it a priority,
Okay.
make it setting aside time for things like that, kind of just making time for it.
Okay.
Because time will go by regardless.
Yes, that's true. That's
So
true.
yeah, I paint a lot less than I used to because I also have another job.
Yeah.
But when I'm home, I make it a point, like I do social media on a certain day, and I do, I'm very scheduled kind of,
Yeah.
which that became from the art licensing process.
Yeah.
Kind of got me in that mode, of this is when you do this, so that I could keep up with it all.
Yeah.
And still be a mom.
Yeah.
And still,
That can
still
be
do all that. Yeah, lots of juggling. So
so before we sign off, words of wisdom. So
Oh, wow.
just some ending words of wisdom for people that may listen to this episode now, or perhaps in the future, and they maybe they get a card and they're like, oh, who's Monica Martin, and they find this episode.
Yeah.
Words of wisdom.
I would say everybody has an artistic talent if it's practiced. So for me, art is a practice. It's a constant practice. And what I mean by that is it's never ending. Like I don't see myself getting to this one spot where I'm like, yes, I've made it. It's a constant part of my life.
Yeah.
It's a constant, effort. But also I think that there's so many different styles of art now and so many different genres. And I mean, your art will fit with somebody. It will resonate with someone, and you don't know who that's going to be. You may think, oh, no one's going to like this, or this isn't that particular style. Like mine's very mainstream, so it's easy, in that way, but I also have a niche, my cards maybe wouldn't be for a 20-something, or, it's like you find your niche and you just kind of go with that. You will find people who will love anything you create, I'm trying to tell like the younger generation that when I have kids in my classes or teenagers or high schoolers, that, what I paint is not what you need to paint.
Yeah.
You need to do your own version of that flower or your own version of that landscape or your own version completely. Like you do something completely different from me. I don't do portraits. And that's only because I've never done them and I've never really learned how to.
Yeah.
So doesn't mean I can't learn. It's just not like something that interests me at this moment.
Yeah.
So I think that for anybody, words of wisdom wise, it's just find your spot, find your little space. It might be, people do lettering, people do, there's like space for everybody. I think in art, whether it's abstract or like recently, like yesterday, I think I got a call for artists for sci-fi. Like that's not me at all, but it could be.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what would I do?
Yeah.
Pushing myself outside of the box.
Yeah.
So I think it's always good to just be open to any style.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's really good words of wisdom. So right now, how can people get in touch with you, purchase any of your designs, maybe get into your art classes? What's the best way of reaching out to you?
Right now, I have my website.
Yes.
Which is monicamartinfineart.com. I am also on Instagram, Monica Martin Fine Art. My cards are here at Baba Coffee, and they've been here since the beginning. So it's exciting that they still, sell, and that I have a lot of people know me from these cards here.
Yeah.
So that's a great plus. I shout out to Baba for that. And I have a Fine Art America account, which is where all of my art can be reproduced in different styles, whether that's art prints, it could be a tote bag, it could be a frame, like a a framed piece of art, it could be canvas, like, so that's like I could put a piece in and you can get like 18 different ways.
Yeah.
So that's a cool option. So that's up through my website. As far as locally, I teach paint and sip, which is super fun and super casual, and anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I like those groups because it's it's just a fun night out.
Yeah.
It's not like a serious art class. And I get a lot of repeats on that. And that's at New Village Arts.
Okay.
Hurston New Village Arts, right down the street.
Yeah.
On State Street. And that's twice a month. And then just gallery. I usually, anything I'm in or doing is on my Instagram. So, you know, it's like teaching some classes fall October, November, December. Those will all be on. So I pretty much list them as I'm doing it, you know, letting people know this is where you can find me. Yeah.
All
and
right.
then just, yeah, that's it.
Well, this has been a very enlightening episode. So for anyone, any artists, creators that might be thinking about dabbling into the licensing industry, this might be a really good episode for you. Once again, thank you for Baba Coffee for hosting this. Smuggling good vibes, good coffee, and they're a great supporter. You know, they support the podcast. You know, yep, they support Monica. She's got her cards here, so if you're around, buy, you know, purchase a card. She's got all kinds of different ones. I've gotten a few of them before, so really cool designs. And like I said, I'm really big about, you know, supporting your creative, you know, local economy. You know, there's a wide range of different creators that's here. Support them in some form or fashion. It could be purchasing something or giving them shout outs, sharing what they're doing. She's got art classes and cards. You can purchase things from her website. So please find ways of supporting your artists. So other than that, hey, this is another great episode with me, with Monica.
Thank you.
And it's the Creative Brew.
Thank you.
Be creative, stay inspired. See.